All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, very excited to be chatting with an individual set to compete at BFL 76 and does so on March 30th in the headline attraction as he defends his middleweight championship against Jesse Taylor, and very excited to have Jared Revel on the show. How's everything going, man? You having a good day so far?
Yeah, man, I'm having a great day. Training's been great. It's less than 10 days to fight night, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, for sure, man, and a lot of topics to get into with that, but, feel like I'd be remiss if I, didn't bring this up because it seemed like you had, a bit of fun recently traveling through Europe. Seems like you covered a lot of territory there. Like, what was that whole, experience like? Seemed like a good time.
Yeah, it was good, man. I honestly, in the last, 8 years, I haven't really taken that much time to myself, and it's been just train. So it's nice just kind of get a little time, and just, I think we took 3 weeks, so it was a blast, man, and went all over Europe, and then went to Maldives, so it was a good time, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it, especially needed? You talked about the fact that, most of the time has been dedicated to training and, getting into various camps for a bunch of high-profile fights. Was it, sort of a necessary kind of thing at this time? How much benefit did it, give in that certain sense? Just having something to, I guess, divert your focus from competition for a bit to maybe revitalize things coming back?
Yeah, I never really thought about it beforehand, but it definitely was, food for the soul type thing to get away and just kind of, have something, going on, right? And not just solely focus on something. So it was nice, and it kind of brought a little fire back when I came back. So it was really, really good to, to have that, knowing I had that fight kind of lined up just as I got, headed out on the trip. So it was definitely a cool way to go.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I was seeing a recent clip from some of the BFL socials where you were saying you feel in this fight like your back is against the wall, but that you very much enjoy that. And I guess really speaks to your successes, and as far as this is one of the rougher patches and it being back-to-back losses. So in a relative sense, for sure, but just curious about, just that whole ethos and mentality, I suppose, just feeling like your back is against the wall, but it providing some kind of, I guess, competitive benefit. Can you kind of speak to that, I suppose?
Yeah, man, no, honestly, why I love MMA so much and just martial arts, competition in general, because, I love competition. I love seeing what I'm made of, right? I've been very fortunate in my career, and, it's, that loss to Josh Rivera was definitely, left a little sour taste in my mouth, it just, through kind of COVID, that was the fight that came, and, lost the decision there. So it's kind of, tough in that going, right? I don't, I hadn't been, ever suffered a back-to-back losses. So, I was obviously feeling really, excited for the next fight. And, it didn't go my way, right? So it was definitely left a sour taste in the mouth. And I think, but for me, I'm somebody who wants to, show out, and I want to make sure, for me, personally, it doesn't matter about anybody else. It's I really want to prove to myself, what I'm made of, right? I think, I can fight at the highest level, right? So I think just getting back in there against a game opponent is just gonna prove that and let me shine my best, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, because just looking at your opponent and the cachet they have in the combat sports world, because it wasn't really that long ago where you were looking at a potential, I guess, UFC call in lieu of the Ultimate Fighter 29 not panning out at the time. But I would think that with the aforementioned cachet with this opponent here, that it could get you right back into those conversations. Are you thinking about that also?
Yeah, man, I think just, constantly putting myself in the position where I can have those big fights, right? And compete at the highest level, and right there is going to kind of put me over the top, right? So that's what I'm looking forward for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious where you're, getting in work at, because one of the last times we were talking, before your LFA middleweight title bid, you were getting in some work at, Fight Ready by virtue of having the same agent as, Eric Anders, and kind of linking up from there. Is Fight Ready still one of the primary spaces you're working at? I know you've also got to work with one heavyweight champion, Arjan Buller. What's the training camp like in that regard?
Yeah, so mostly just been around BC, so with Arjan Buller and kind of the team that they've kind of brought around, right? Got some really good wrestlers. A guy named Hunter Lee, that's, he's one of the top wrestlers in Canada, better, right? So at my weight class, so it's definitely that's been helping out a lot. And he's trying to on his MMA career, so it's been really good training to have somebody my size, right, my weight class that's such a good wrestler, right? That's probably been like my biggest focus at WKX and then with Bullers as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, such an incredible person to get and work with. I mean, just it probably helps, obviously his elite level like proficiency with the technique, but I mean, he's, a noticeably bigger body. So, I mean, I guess the idea is to like ready yourself to, I guess, be in grappling exchanges with these middleweights, and it feels like a bit lighter comparatively, I guess.
100%, man, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt. And just in terms of, I guess, like, your awareness with your opponent, I mean, you seem like a guy who has, like, a pretty good lay of the land in general, and like I was kind of saying before, this was, like, a known kind of guy, like a pretty tenured, mixed martial artist, to say the least. So, can you kind of speak to, I guess, the temperament and general thoughts when the bout offer came your way? I would think you'd be fairly excited.
Yeah, when the potential kind of came around, that the promotion kind of mentioned it, and obviously we're all, like, super excited for a matchup like that, right? And I think we had to wait to kind of see if it came through, right? And, fortunate enough, he signed the contract, and we're getting it on. So.
And I'm curious, like, have you been doing like a certain level of direct tape study, or is that kind of something you kind of allocate to like your coaches, and then you kind of like intersect the game plan with them thereafter?
Yeah, that's usually how that works. My coaches definitely do a lot. We do watch some stuff with the guys. They obviously watch a lot more, and we go through tendencies and stuff like that, and then we watch videos together and just kind of like look at the tendencies and different things of that nature, right? But also just focusing on what I'm good at, executing that, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, just an exciting, proposition for sure. Like, I mean, when I saw the, flyer for the bout kind of drop, I mean, this is someone that's, been on the Ultimate Fighter back in the day. And, I mean, if you look at the resume, I mean, some of the promotions he's fought for, like, I mean, Dream and Strikeforce and MFC, KSW could really go on. So, yeah, definitely an exciting kind of fight to, have lined up and stuff like that. And especially within the Canada versus USA kind of theme and stuff like that. Is that something that emboldens a certain something in your performance a bit, or is it kind of just like a tagline for the event? Like, are you sort of looking at it from that kind of viewpoint as well, just with that being, the BFL 76 tagline and all?
I love that. I love representing Canada. Like when I went to Brazil, that was, definitely something that was great for me. And also, even just fighting Josco Barrow and LFA, right? Like Canada going in. So I've never actually kind of represented, like Canada in that sense, on a bigger stage with a big opponent in my hometown. So that's like, that means that's special to me with having my own fans, like being at this level and having my own fans fighting a guy of this nature, right? So it's going to be exciting, to bring home a big W in front of, the Canadian, fans in a second, right?
So is that something that kind of, I mean, based on what you're saying, it's like you've obviously traveled to other countries to compete, but does it embolden a certain something extra in the performance, just being how close you are to like the hometown area and stuff like that, and just knowing that there's going to be that partisan presence in the crowd? Does that kind of add a little something to what you're doing in a positive kind of sense? Because I've heard other fighters kind of talk about like fighting at home and
add some pride to the factor, and just all the people that have been along the journey and helped me along the way, right, to be able to perform in front of them. Obviously add just that little bit of excitement value, right, for me to go out there and obviously kind of put like a return on the investment so many people have had in my career, and be able to come out and support me and in that nature, right?
Yeah, for sure. And cool that you're still on that like UFC Fight Pass kind of platform and stuff like that. I feel like that's been kind of the case the last few fights there. So even like the people that aren't gonna have the great pleasure to be there live in attendance, still like a great platform for a lot of people throughout the country to peep and even beyond.
Yeah, definitely, right? So I'm excited for this opportunity, and I think it's going to be a great night.
Yeah, for sure. And something else I wanted to talk about too, because I think like one of the great things you do too is, just talk about your journey. And one of the last times we were talking, you had relatively recently around that time celebrated a milestone of being decade clean and how much it had meant to you to really move forward, and just what a big moment that was. Can you kind of, I guess, talk about that end of things, just talking about your experiences, I guess, as a means to maybe help out other people that could be in a similar spot from where you were at over a decade ago?
Yeah, man. No, I think that's been a staple of just who I am and how I've been able to, I'm getting older, right? But I still feel young and always feel like I'm reaching a new peak of my career, and that's just because of how I take care of my body. And I attribute so much of that to me getting clean, right? Because it was a huge turning tide in my life and allowing me to kind of take care of myself and better myself for the best, right? It wasn't easy. Obviously, I had to have lots of solid people around. Martial arts has definitely been that for me, right? Like having a lot of other circles that help out in my life and add value, right? But martial arts has definitely been a stable force that has brought that in my life and helped my life become, what it is today, right? And, for me, if there are people struggling, like for me, I'm always like to reach out to, and I've been fortunate enough even with having a platform and obviously letting people know that I am clean. I've had lots of people reach out, and for me, I'm always one to reach back out. So I never hesitate or judge somebody. I want to. Everybody's got opportunities, and I believe in second chances and people, fulfilling their best selves, right?
Well, that's a great way to look at it, and it really does come across like that you're very open and willing to, be helpful and stuff like that. But you talk about like it having benefits to your career, and that was sort of an inference that I almost had. Like, I feel like it would really help with like your ability to recuperate and just, the longevity it would probably provide your body as opposed to, breaking it down. So yeah, I would think that would be huge.
Yeah, man, I definitely don't wake up ever feeling like that was a rough night, right? The only time is, if I have some hard training, that's the only thing I ever feel, right? And then get back to recovery and training again. That's, it makes for a lot easier of a training routine.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess just like as a kind of final question here, because I'm kind of wondering, like, obviously not overlooking, this fight, like this is a big title defense and, a great opponent, but if you get the desired outcome, what would be the, I guess, like next spot you would like to, I guess, vault yourself towards? Like, is it a matter of just continuing to defend that BFL title? Because I remember at one point you were maybe even thinking of like a contender series spot or something of that ilk, and there are some rumblings UFC might come to Canada. Like, what would represent a next step if you get your ideal outcome here?
Yeah, like obviously if UFC ever came to Canada, that's exactly it, representing Canada, on home turf for UFC. That was kind of the whole goal originally, and then COVID kind of happened and kind of stunted that growth. We haven't had a show in Canada. Getting a huge win here, if I need to get another big win, that's like whatever the biggest fight is possible after this, that's the goal, to keep pushing myself to the highest, competitive streak that I can and see what I'm made of, right? And see what I can accomplish.
Yeah, well, your career progression is definitely aligned with what you're talking about there, but you've been really good with the time, Jared. It's always fun getting to talk to you before these different fights, but, in being mindful of your time and schedule, is there any, like, final parting thought you might want to add as we're wrapping up here, man?
No, I appreciate your time as well, right? Everybody that helps promote, MMA or mixed martial arts in a team with other people who kind of follow along, right? It's always great for our sport. I appreciate that a lot as well. All the people that obviously support me, and whether it's just like following along the ride or the training partners, family, whatever it is, I always got mad love. I feel like I got, a ton of people behind me, and that's what I kind of I fight with, right? So I appreciate everybody, and look forward to March 30th. It's going down, and I'm going to get a finish.
Yeah, I think many are looking forward to this BFL 76 card, and should be a great fight against Jesse Taylor, and very much appreciate the insights you gave ahead of this middleweight title defense. And yeah, very much in that company of people looking forward to peeping that fight when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day there, Jared.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.